If anybody knows what that song is, leave it down in the comments. It's one of my favorite songs ever. It's a song that's very important to like me and my wife. We've also done it at some weddings as a first dance, and we will be playing it as a first dance at our wedding on June 29th. So very cool. Let me know in the comments if you know what that song was. And got a video for you today. It's going to be a video of a topic that I've thought a lot about in my time as a musician. It's something that has affected me adversely, I would say. I always try to find if something is helpful in some way and adverse in another. And basically what I'm about to go through is basically never helpful at all. Couldn't think of any way to be positive about this next situation. And it's just one of the many hells that we deal with as musicians. So this guy says, so I booked a few gigs about 6 to 8 months ago, 400 for my duo, 1,000 for my 4-piece band, and she gave me 3 dates for my duo and 2 dates for my band. So this guy got 5 gigs out of this. Great. And he's feeling pretty good about himself. He feels like that's what he's worth, 400 for the duo and 1,000 for the 4-piece band. He says about 3 weeks ago, he reached out to the booker to touch base and tell them I was looking forward to our upcoming gigs, which is smart, especially when you're playing clubs and you're dealing with bars. Again, it's this thing that I will go through many, many times. It's the difference between, the club being, your client and a client being your client. They're two very different gigs. Club gigs as your client are very dangerous. There's a lot that could go wrong. A lot does go wrong, and a lot of people get sad about all the things that go wrong. Client work is much, much different. It's usually more high pressure, a lot more to it. Client work meaning private events, wedding events, private parties, those types of things. They're much different than bar gigs, or I'll even say casino gigs. Casino gigs are the better of the bar gigs, but it's still pretty much a bar gig. And we'll go over that ad nauseum on this channel. So he reaches out about 3 weeks early and says, hey, I'm excited. Very much a good thing to do. Always want to follow up. I book gigs about a year in advance. Let me back up. I don't have this problem, with the type of work that I do. I do client work. I don't do club work. So, but I have done plenty of club work. And where it affects me is kind of like with the casinos. The casinos will fall into this as well. They replied, sorry, that person no longer works here. Please reach out to this new person that works here for any correspondence. So I did twice. They didn't return my emails. I happen to have the owner's number in my phone from when I tried to book there in 2022. So this person's going over the head of the booking people, going straight to the owner, which, I mean, yeah, could be 50-50. You might, they might find that annoying. They might, help you. I guess it's not a bad thing to try. I text the situation and say that the new person is not returning my emails after a week and a half. She calls me and says, he's really busy. How can she help me? Yeah, I mean, if the booking person is too busy to help one of the bands out, that's kind of a red flag right there. But she offers to help out, which is great. At least he's hearing from somebody. I will say most times in this situation, you will hear from no one. So the owner gets back and says, I'm sorry, but I can't pay these prices. The person that booked you, I fired because they went nuts with my checkbook booking bands. Okay, so now we're starting to get to the meat of it. So the owner has said, they booked you for 5 gigs and we're not honoring those guarantees anymore. the first thing, we're going to go back to client work versus club work. And what's going on here is that for club work, you're rarely ever going to get a signed agreement or a deposit. For client work, you're always going to have a signed agreement and a deposit. You can already see the difference between the two gigs and why I choose not to do club gigs and why I do client work. Because to me, it's the safer bet because I'm using my own contract and I'm using my own way of doing things. The client has already paid me money. So if they decide at a later date that they overpaid or they feel like they paid too much, they can't change anything. They can cancel. And if they do cancel, then I have the deposit already. So I already have money. In club work, you don't have any of that. You have no security. You have no contract. Some people say, oh, well, I sent an email and basically, say, can you confirm this? And then somehow that's, legal and binding. I don't agree with that. And basically the club can shit on you and you just have to deal with it. They just decided that they don't want to pay you anymore. So she asks him, what will you do these for? So he cuts his full band gig from 1,000 down to 600 and his duo gig from 400 down to 300. So I don't mind the guy trying. This person, we know nothing about him. Is he totally hustling in life and living off of just gigs alone? It's not often that you see that, but it does happen. And, to those people, I gotta put it out there for you. You're working hard, and this is a tough business. And anybody that's kind of doing that, hustling for casino gigs and club gigs is their only source of income, is a hard way to go. Hustling for gigs in a client environment is by far the way to go. That's what I do, and that's what I will always do. And there's no going back if somebody changes their mind, which we are human beings. We change our mind. This person, the booking agent, left, and the new person came in, which means that you are at square one. This is a nightmare for people. When a booking agent that you've worked with for a long time, you've got a great history with them, you've done tons of gigs, everything's been great, enjoy it while you can, because these people come and go. A new booking agent comes in, they have all their friends, they have all their bands that they work with, and they don't have any relationship with you, so you're basically, pretty much screwed. It's hard to find good in this situation. So, and this musician is basically doing all they can to save their gigs. Again, this could be their livelihood. This could be their only source of making money. For me, myself, I basically don't really need to make money anymore playing music. I do it for the love of it. I do it for, I love being in business, and don't get me wrong, I won't play anywhere for no money. I do love the money, but I'm not in the position that this guy could possibly be in where, I have to play gigs to eat. I've got to make a few $100s a week to make ends meet, because that's not me. I'm also a real estate investor. I don't have a typical day jobs as normal people. I do business. So probably a little bit of a different, but I do know where this guy's coming from. And a lot of people say, well, you should have canceled. Sounds like he doesn't even have the option to cancel. Sounds like they canceled him, making his decision there much easier. And he's basically fighting, trying to keep what gigs he has. And it doesn't look like it's going too well. He already lowered his price, which it looks like they were interested in looking at, which, if you do lower your price, just know that going forward, that's all it's probably ever going to be. You're not going to really be able to get too much more money from these people. They've made it clear. In this, honestly, an argument can be made that this is the free market at work. We live in a a country where we operate on a free market. That's not to say that the government doesn't stick their big head into everything and screw everything up. This is the free market. Club owner, feels that she can get bands cheaper. So she basically told him he had no written agreement. He had no deposit. If you had a deposit and everything, you could be like, all right, fine. I'm just going to move on. I got a little bit of money. It's not all the money, but I got a little bit. He can't even do that. So this musician is operating in a very dangerous environment. And I say that because there's no protection for him whatsoever. There's no recourse. There's nothing he can do. He can go on Facebook and put the club up on blast and, do all these things. And I believe a lot of people probably have done that. But in the end, it's still not going to, feed him. At least when you're doing client work, you have money already paid. 30 days before the event, they paid the full balance. So if they cancel the gig entirely, then they're out everything. They agree to all this in their contract. So that's the moral of the story, basically. If you're going to do this type of work and you're going to play for this type of money with no agreement, this is what's going to happen. And, I would just say do the gig at the reduced rate. Just, suck it up, let them win, and, try to make a new relationship with a new booking agent and pack the place. If you pack the place, then all you have to do, and if you have a good following, then all you have to do is go to their closest competitor, and begin having competing nights with them while you're packing the club. And then all of a sudden they'll call you up and say, hey, it was a bad situation we got into, but we've had time to think about it, and we're ready to honor what we had discussed, and stuff like that. And then if that happens, at that point, get them to sign a contract and a deposit. But a club's never going to do that. You're just going to have to deal with it. So basically what I would do in this situation is, if they reduced your fee and you need the money, that's the key. If you need the money, do the gigs. Try to rebuild a relationship with this new booking agent. Try to improve the crowds. Try to bring more people in. Try to give them more for their money. And then eventually, try to ask them for a little bit more money. Again, this is a very tough situation. That's why I wanted to comment a little bit on it. The moral of the story is, try to get out of the bar gigs. Try to get out of that whole rat race. And only do bar gigs if they give you an agreement, which really still doesn't mean anything. The agreement doesn't mean shit. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean anything. What means something is when people give you the money up front, when they give you 50% of a deposit and it's non-refundable. That's what means something. That's all I got for you today. Take care.